Some people spend years hiding their forehead under layers of hair. Bangs, hats, shadows, and photos, they say it's too big, too flat, too high, too weird. But what if that very space, the one you're trying to cover, was the first place your ancestors stamped their energy on you? Here's the part most people never hear. In Feng Shui and face reading, the forehead is where heaven touches your life. It holds the map of your early fate before you even spoke your first word. Some foreheads hold luck, some hold pressure, some hold scars that aren't even yours. So what does yours carry? Thank you for being here. This isn't about beauty. This is about energy, legacy, and becoming aware of the face you were given. Not to judge it, but to understand it. If that resonates, just drop a quiet, "It makes sense now" in the comments. That's all. Today, we're diving into 5 forehead shapes and the powerful energies they've been known to hold in Feng Shui, ancient physiognomy, and emotional life patterns. We'll look at what your Tron says about wealth, pressure, decision-making, and even family karma. Let's begin with the one people call the scholar's dome, the high, wide forehead, admired by some, misunderstood by many. But in energy language, it often speaks the loudest. They said he was born lucky. Big head, big brain, the ants laughed. His teachers called him a natural leader. And by the time James hit 16, people already spoke to him like he had answers, like he owed them wisdom he hadn't earned yet. In Feng Shui, a high, wide forehead is often seen as a blessing from above. It's called the Heaven Palace, the place where fate enters before your voice ever forms. Those born with it are believed to carry clarity, vision, and a sense of direction far earlier than others. And that sounds beautiful until it turns heavy. People with this type of forehead are often seen as mature for their age. They're the ones everyone turns to when decisions need to be made. But underneath, there's often tension, not just emotional, physical. Look closely, and you might see deep horizontal lines before 30, a hairline that recedes slightly from thinking too much, or a faint shine that never seems to leave the center. It's not sweat. It's the body leaking pressure from a mind that's been in overdrive since childhood. James never realized how often his body tried to say no until he stopped sleeping. He couldn't unwind, couldn't stop fixing, couldn't stop planning 5 steps ahead, even when no one asked him to. That's the shadow side of a high forehead. It attracts expectations that sometimes aren't even yours to carry. And it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been overused. This energy, this high yang field needs grounding, not with productivity, but with presence. That's why in Feng Shui, the correction isn't cosmetic, it's energetic. Place something heavy and dark near your bed. A smooth stone, a black crystal, or even a small clay bowl of salt water. Avoid overhead lights that burn straight down onto your working space. Lower them. Soften them. You're not a searchlight. You're a person. And once a month, take an evening where you plan nothing, say nothing, and let your head rest on something warm. Sesame oil across the forehead isn't superstition, it's surrender. The forehead doesn't need more affirmation. It needs less pressure. And once that pressure lifts, you might be surprised by what parts of your life grow softer and, finally, clearer. But not everyone was given that sky-wide forehead. Some were born with a narrow space, low brow, tight lines, and the kind of gaze that says, "I've had to fight for every inch of peace I've earned." And that is exactly where we're heading next. She always knew how to read a room, walked in quiet, sat near the edge, watched more than she spoke. And when people asked if she was shy, she smiled politely, but inside she was calculating everything. Not because she wanted control, but because she'd learned early. When your forehead is low, you don't get to be careless. In Eastern face reading, a narrow or low forehead doesn't mean less intelligence. It means your wisdom wasn't handed to you. It was carved. People with this shape tend to have sharp, compact foreheads that start close to the brow bone, with tight skin and little vertical space between hairline and eyes. In Feng Shui terms, it signals a person whose heaven gate wasn't wide open, so they had to forge their own doorway. That often translates to early hardship, survival instinct, or the kind of childhood where softness wasn't an option. It's not uncommon to find that those with a narrow forehead started working earlier than others, made adult decisions too young, or took on responsibilities before they even had language for them. They rarely ask for help, not because they're proud, but because they've been trained to expect disappointment. And here's the part that hurts the most. They're often better at helping others than receiving anything themselves. Look closely and you might notice they frown when they think, squint under pressure, or keep their jaw slightly tight even when relaxed. These are micro signs of protective energy, a body that stays on guard. And the world often rewards this toughness, but it rarely honors the cost. If any of that feels familiar, just pause and drop a comment. I've carried more than I should have. You don't need to explain it, you're seen here. Energetically, the ritual for a narrow forehead is different. The healing doesn't come from softening the mind, it comes from opening the field. Start by creating vertical space above your head when you sleep. Don't sleep in low bunk beds or tight overhead shelves. Let your ceiling breathe. Light a single stick of sandalwood incense near your pillow before bed, not for smell, but for vertical lift. And once a week, speak something aloud in the dark, not to be heard, but to make room for your own voice in the space above you. Because narrow foreheads often come with silent throats. And the truth is, those who walk with narrow foreheads are not broken, they are focused, precise, spiritually forged. But sometimes the world forgets to thank them. So let this be it, thank you, for holding together things that should have broken, for growing up too soon and still finding your way back to softness. Because not all pressure shows itself in size. Some stories hide in curves, in shadows, in places the light only hits when we're finally ready to see them. And when that moment comes, the whole face begins to speak differently. Some faces don't speak with boldness. They whisper. A forehead that curves inward, dips at the center, or feels uneven under the light, it doesn't scream destiny the way others do. But in Feng Shui, that very dip might be where old stories settle, and where inherited energy keeps repeating until someone learns to name it. This kind of forehead, often soft to the touch, slightly concave near the center line, or marked by uneven texture between the temples, is sometimes seen in people who carry unprocessed lineage energy. It's not always visible in photos, but in motion, under sunlight or stress, it reveals itself. These are the people who live between roles, caretakers who never got cared for, mediators who carry the storms of two sides, decision makers who second-guess themselves quietly after every choice. Their face isn't undecided, it's holding two timelines at once. In Eastern face reading, this shape is known as the wind gate dip, a sign that energy moves through the person faster than it lands. They're quick to understand others, but slow to forgive themselves. Often, they repeat emotional patterns they never meant to choose. dating people who mirror a parent, fearing the success they claim to want, hesitating to speak until it's too late. And if you ask them why, they'll usually smile and say, "I don't know, I just always end up here." Physically, these foreheads may come with tension behind the eyes, uneven eyebrow arches, or subtle frown lines that don't match their mood. It's not about sadness, it's about holding weight that has no name. Sometimes they were the ones told, "You're just like your father," and they believed it, even if they didn't want to. Sometimes they were the ones who watched their mother shrink herself and learned to do the same. Feng Shui doesn't blame the shape, it listens to it. And for a dipped forehead, the ritual is not to correct, but to ground the echo. Start by writing down one repeated emotional loop in your life, just one. Fold the paper and place it under a smooth stone by your window. Let sunlight hit it each morning for 7 days. That's not a spell. That's awareness with weight. Then brush your forehead with your bare hand every night before bed, from center to hairline, gently 3 times. No cream, no words, just touch. Let your body know you see it, that you're here now, and the story doesn't have to keep circling. Because not every forehead speaks loudly. Some ask to be read in silence, in the space between what we feel and what we've never dared to question. And somewhere in that space, a shift begins. Not dramatic, but permanent. Some people live 2 lives in one body. They succeed in public, but stumble in private. They smile easily, but the corners of their eyes say something different. And often, if you look closely, you'll notice it. A forehead that isn't symmetrical. One side slopes differently. One temple pulls higher. The skin creases deeper on one side than the other, as if the face is carrying 2 separate stories. In Feng Shui and Eastern face reading, an uneven forehead is more than an aesthetic detail. It often signals a life of split roles, where a person is navigating conflicting energies and neither one truly rests. One side might crave control, while the other longs for surrender. One side is inherited from a lineage of doers, the other from a line of watchers, observers, empaths. These people are often praised for being adaptable, but underneath, they carry a quiet exhaustion from always having to shift shapes to match the room. You'll often find that people with this type of forehead learned early to perform. They can mirror emotion effortlessly, charm a room, read what's needed and give it, even when their own needs are collapsing quietly beneath the surface. They rarely show frustration on both sides of their face. The left may stay frozen while the right strains with forced expression, or vice versa. Over time, this creates muscular imbalance, but it also reflects energetic imbalance, the soul trying to keep balance between 2 opposing currents. Emotionally, this shape tends to show up in those who grew up managing 2 different versions of reality. A peaceful home that had secrets. A strong parent who was also deeply broken. A childhood where praise and punishment came from the same mouth. These are people who have had to question their own instincts more than once, and often they're still doing it. Healing this doesn't mean forcing symmetry. It means restoring integration, bringing both sides back into conversation. One simple Feng Shui ritual for this. Stand in front of a mirror, place your right hand over your left temple and your left hand over your right temple. Close your eyes, breathe. Let both sides of your face feel your own presence. Do this for 3 minutes before sleep, once a week, preferably on a Wednesday, the day ruled by Mercury, the harmonizer. And during daytime, avoid mirrors that split your reflection, especially in bathrooms or entryways. replace them, or shift your angle. Seeing yourself divided too often reinforces the imbalance. Because the face doesn't just reflect your identity, it reflects how much of yourself you've had to split just to survive. And when those parts begin to return to each other, even quietly, the energy that once leaked out starts to come home. Not all at once, but piece by piece it returns, just like breath, just like balance, just like trust. Some people walk into a room and something just feels heavier. Not because of what they say, but because of what they carry. And often, if you look closely, their forehead seems darker than the rest of their face, not in color, but in presence. The light hits, but it doesn't reflect. It stays trapped, like energy that tried to rise and never quite made it. In Feng Shui, a shadowed or clouded forehead isn't about skin tone, it's about qi obstruction. This shows up in foreheads with dull texture, unusually deep horizontal lines, stiff center zones, or skin that seems slightly gray or ashen in certain lighting. The person may appear tired even when rested, disconnected even when smiling. And beneath that surface is often a story of grief, regret, or spiritual fatigue that never found air to breathe. These people usually don't remember the moment it started. It wasn't a trauma. It was an accumulation. Choices made for others, words swallowed to keep peace. Faith lost not in one moment, but chipped away over years. And while others moved on, they stayed still inside. Feng Shui reads this as a sign that the heaven gate has been dimmed. Not permanently, but enough to block inspiration, blessings, and clarity from flowing through. You might notice that they avoid eye contact when thinking or press their fingers to their forehead out of habit. Some carry a faint tension between the brows, or the skin above their nose stays cool even in warm rooms. These are all indicators that energy is trapped, especially thoughts that were never spoken or dreams that were abandoned quietly. To clear this, no tool is as powerful as intentional warmth. The ritual begins simple. Each morning, before the sun fully rises, hold both palms over your forehead for 30 seconds. Not touching, just hovering. Let your hands warm the skin and imagine light entering from above. Do this for 9 days straight, starting on a Sunday. If you keep a mirror nearby, do not look into it during the ritual. This is not about appearance. It's about permission to rise again. And inside the home, place a round, soft glow lamp above eye level in the space where you make most of your decisions. Light above the forehead restores circulation to the heaven gate and reminds your body that inspiration still belongs to you. Because a shadowed forehead doesn't mean you've lost your light. It means your light has been waiting for you to notice it again. And when that moment happens, even quietly, the whole body starts to respond, not with fireworks, but with presence, real, quiet presence, the kind that finally lets the energy come home. Your forehead is the first thing the world saw before you even opened your mouth. It carried your story before you knew how to speak it. High or low, soft or lined, symmetrical or scarred, it never needed to be perfect. It only needed to be understood. Feng Shui doesn't ask you to change your face. It asks you to listen to it, to notice the energy that's been trying to speak through your skin, your tension, your shape, not as flaws, but as maps. Maps of where you've come from, and maybe, if you're willing, maps of where you're meant to go next. Because the face doesn't lie. But it does wait patiently for the day you finally see it as something more than just a reflection, as a messenger, as a keeper. as a quiet, sacred record of everything you've survived. Thank you for spending this time here. If any part of this video spoke to something in you, a memory, a shape, a feeling, feel free to leave a comment. Or just drop a small dove so we know you're out there. And if you haven't yet, you're invited to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, especially if you're someone who believes that energy speaks, even through the smallest things. Next time, we'll look at a different part of the body and how what seems ordinary might be holding your luck, your lessons, or your light. Your space speaks. Wisdom listens.